Hi guys, this is Kirk Nelson with Brilliant Twisted Skulls. In this installment of Chainmaille Tips, Tricks, and Ring Flips, we'll be discussing the starting a unit of half Persian 4-in-1. I will be using the Ring Lord's bronze and stainless steel rings, 18 gauge quarter inch. I also have a couple of 18 gauge 5/32, and then a larger ring. I just grabbed one out of the junk pile. That'll be our end ring, just to give us a starter piece. Anyway, so what we're talking about here is half Persian 4-in-1, also known as HP 4-in-1. Check the description below. You'll find links, supplies, and tools that we use for this video. And so this is what half Persian 4-in-1 looks like. This is a really great weave. It lays relatively flat, has a real symmetrical feel to it. Just a really nice, and it has a good flow. Relatively flexible in one direction, in this flat direction. A little more rigid in the other direction, but still has some flexibility. Anyway, let's get started here. Now this is the way I weave. This is the way I start it every time. Again, you get in the habit of doing it this way, you'll never have a problem. But I also believe that once you build a starter, keep that starter piece. Keep a starter piece for future weaving. It makes it super easy, super quick. You can just start with a section that you've already got and then just start weaving, and then separate that piece and just leave yourself a little 1-inch or 2-inch chunk to start with in the future, and it just makes it really simple. But if you don't have that piece, then this is what you're going to do to start it. So first off, I've already gone ahead and linked 3 bronze 18 gauge quarter-inch rings with 1 stainless steel. And so for one row of the half Persian 4-in-1 is going to be bronze, and the other row is going to be stainless steel. So you can see here I've got the 3 bronze links linked together, or rings linked together with 1 stainless steel ring. Excuse me. So what we're going to do is, first off, we're going to grab this guy, this stainless steel ring. We're going to pull this bronze ring out perpendicular, just like I've got it, just the way I'm holding it right there, so you can see it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my right hand, or the plier, clockwise, so that ring goes in just like that, and I'm going to pinch that with my thumb and forefinger. And now I'm going to grab these 2 rings perpendicular, and I'm going to turn those counterclockwise. And I'm going to lay that first ring in on top of those, so that when we're looking at it, and then I'm going to separate them so that they're stacked in a row, 1, 2, 3, one on top of each other, staggered. So you can kind of see what that looks like right there. So you got this, so they're kind of sitting on top of that first ring, or the stainless steel ring, and the first ring is kind of hanging below. So you can kind of see that. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. Okay, now what I'm going to do is this is going to stabilize the ring, or stabilize this section of unit. I'm going to take these 18 gauge 5/32, and you can use different sizes and whatever works best for you. You don't want to go too small, because then it'll bind up your weaving. And these rings that I'm going to put in right now, these 2, I've got 2 of these 18 gauge 5/32 rings, and I'm only going to use 2 of them. But they're going to stabilize this guy really well. So what I'm going to do is, see those first 2 bronze rings? You see the eye right there? And the stainless steel ring? I'm going to get those 3 rings together, just like that. See if I can get that in a position where you can see it really well. Okay, there we go. So I'm capturing those 3 rings with this 18 gauge 5/32 ring, and I'm going to go ahead and close that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and pinch that back in my fingers, And then you can see that they're still nicely aligned in that configuration where we've got them stacked one on top of the other. Then I'm going to take that next 5/32 ring, and I'm going to go through the same, the second and the third, the eye that's created by the second and third ring, as well as the stainless steel ring. I'm going to open that up a little bit more, so it's not quite wide enough to get this in here. Oops. Okay. So we're going to get that in there, and you see that I'm going to capture that last ring and the second ring and the stainless steel ring. And it's going to get a little floppy there for a minute, and that's okay. Oops, let's see. Get that to where you can see it better. Go ahead and open this up a little bit more. A little bit further. Okay. All right, so now you can see that going through the... Oh. Of course, that flipped right out. So it's really important to get this thing stabilized as soon as you can. Okay, so we'll close this up before we lose it again. And then go ahead and pinch that between your fingers. Oops. Make sure you get that ring alignment back together. And so again, so those two guys are sitting on top. And this is what we're going to call your top. This is going to be the top of your weave. And as you can see, I've still got that same ring alignment where you've got the first ring is nestled behind or in front of, I guess, in this position, between the stainless steel ring and the second ring. And then this last ring is on top of or to the outside of the middle ring. So they're stacked 1, 2, 3. And so now we're going to go ahead and weave in another stainless steel ring. And this is really simple. And this is how you're going to do every single one of these. So you're going to work with 3 rings every single time. You're going to be going through, you're going to split the last ring and go under the first, these next 2 rings. Oops. Okay. Well, it's easier said than done, I guess. So you're going to go through the eye of those first 2 rings, and it looks like a jumbled mess right now, but it's not. Just looks like it. Okay. And then you're going to go through. So if you look here, you've gone through the eye between these 2 rings and over the eye of this ring. Okay. And so now you're going to come through with that. And then and this is the way I always do this. Then I go ahead and add another closed ring, which is part of that bronze row. And I'm going to close this. And now I have what's considered a fairly stable unit. But what I like to do at this point, now that I've got that fairly stable, I'm going to take this finish ring here. This is going to be your what I call a store ring. This is what you store your starter pieces on. It's a store ring. We call that a store ring, and that'll be a finding if it was a weave or something, if you're actually making it into a bracelet or something. Okay, so now you've got those guys hooked together, and now we can go ahead and move on to the next ring. Okay, so I'm going to take another one of your stainless steel rings, another stainless steel ring, and here again we're dealing with these last 3 rings. We're going to go between the last ring and the second to last ring, through the eye that's between the second and third ring, coming up and over, and then through that last ring, which goes over the eye of the last and second to last ring. Let's see if we can get a better view of that. So if we're looking at it from here, here we go. So you can see that it goes over the eye here. This ring is going over the eye here and through the eye. So here's the last ring, second to last ring. It's going over that eye, and then the eye that's created by the second to last and the third to last ring, which is right here. There's that eye right in there. It's going into that, around this eye, and then linking that together. And what I did forget to do is what I always do is put, let's just open that back up real quick, and then I always go ahead and add that last ring. And you can pre-close those. I don't always pre-close those. A lot of times I'll just weave them as I go. So I opened these rings. I normally don't open the rings or close them before I weave. But for these videos, it just makes things a little bit faster. So again, let's look at it one more time. So here we go. Between the second to last ring and the first ring. So I'm going between those guys. And then going up and under the eye of the second and to last and the third to last rings, up and over, and then through that last ring, adding a closed ring and closing that up. And that's how we do it. Could do one more if you want. Let's just go ahead and do another one just for fun. And then okay, here we go, back through between the last and the second to last ring, getting into the eye between the second to last and the third to last ring. You can see it there. Here we are, let's see, right there. See where that's coming up. I always come up and under and through, and then bring it around and through that last ring, toss on a closed ring, close that up, make sure that's nice and tight and clean. And this is how I'll actually store it too. So if I weave a section, I'll take it apart and then I will create it, if I even have to take a couple extra rings off, so that when I'm done, it looks just like this. So it's got this one floppy ring out here, boop, 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 boop. And then I leave these rings up on top here. So I know that the orientation of this is going to be with these two guys on top. This is the starter. This is the end of it. And this is the direction I'm going to go, coming this way. And so if you always leave that just like that, that's a starter piece that now you can just keep going. Just like I showed you, going through these two rings, the eye of these two rings, coming up and under, over, and then back through. And let's just, why not? Let's just do it one more time. Just to try to cement that for you. Okay, so one more time. Just before we finish here, we're going to go right back. And you can just keep, this is how you're going to do it forever and ever. Okay, let's get a really good position here so you can see it. We're going to go between that last ring and the second to last ring. And I'm going to come up between the second and third to last rings in that eye that they create. I'm going to come up and over. I'm going to spin it up so that the last ring goes onto my active ring. This is the actively woven ring. And then I'm going to toss on that little guy at the end. And there you have it. There's your starter for half Persian 4-in-1. Hopefully that makes sense for everybody. If you have any questions or have any comments, feel free to leave those in the comments at the bottom here. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to see more of our videos. You can also find our written tutorials at Brilliant Skulls on Etsy. You can also follow us at Brilliant Twisted Skulls on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. You'll also be able to find the links to our other sites in the descriptions below. Thanks again for watching.